Hello, in this video I'm going to show you beginning to end how to make this really cute dragonfly lace hat. Now the pattern blown up, this was done on a 5/8 inch gauge loom. That's what the pattern is, but you're doing it sideways, so it turns out like that. So this kind of shows a little more why it's called dragonfly lace. This I did on a 3/8 inch gauge loom from Cindywood. This is, I think it's the woman's small or youth large hat loom, I believe is how it is phrased, but I'll put a direct link to this loom in the description below. The yarn I'm using after the shawl and the hat, I've got one spool and this left, so I still got quite a bit of this yarn left. It was a big spool. Here is the paper from it. It was the Buttercream Luxe Craft Rainbow, let me see, what is it? Brown mustard. And here's actually all the information that I got in the label. It's an 8-ounce spool, so it's a pretty big spool. So it's considered a size 4 yarn. If you want the design to be a lot more bold in your project and you're using the same loom, you can either use a larger gauge loom with the same yarn or switch to like a size 2 or 3 yarn. It'll be very light and very airy. If you want it for warmth, stick with this. Okay, loom setup. You're going to need stitch markers, placeholders, whatever you want to call them. Every 5 pegs, starting with this, starting with this white peg, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, place a marker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, place a marker. Do that all the way around. Now you will notice there are 2 extra pegs left. That's fine, just, sorry about that. That is perfectly fine. Just do the pattern like normal and it won't be noticeable at all. This is just for the increase and decrease part. To get you set up, take your yarn. We're actually going to do a slip knot and a chain cast on. If you're unfamiliar with the chain cast on, there is a link in the description below. I have various videos to show you how to do a chain cast on, but I will kind of get it started here, try to give you a real quick demo. This yarn, it wants to stick to itself just due to the style of it. So just be patient with it. If you are new to loom knitting, honestly, I would suggest not starting with this yarn. If you want to do this pattern, fine, but pick a different yarn to use. You will not regret it. For those of us with a little more patience, who's been loom knitting for a little while longer, or if you're used to working with eyelash yarn like this, then by all means, go ahead with this yarn. Do this all the way around the loom. I'm just going to give you like a quick tutorial just to show you how to do this. So I'm not actually going to do the whole loom. I'm going to do just part of it. And I'll use this yarn so you can kind of see how it works up. Let's do a few more. Oops. And what you do is you do this all the way around. When you get to your last peg here, just put the loop on it like that and tie it. They won't be connected, but it's fine. You don't have to worry about that. You push all your pegs to the bottom. We start with a bit of a brim. That way when it's over your ears, it's going to be a little warmer. And I believe I did 8 rows. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I did 7 rows. Sorry. 7 rows of figure 8 stitch. To do the figure 8 stitch, which in this, you'll be going in and around. So you'll always be working in the same direction. But to show you, I'll be working in 2 different directions. Now I'm just going to skip this. Your figure 8 stitch, you skip one peg, go around the next, and then you come back. See how that looks like a figure 8? You take your bottom over the top. Of course, if you need a better tutorial, I have plenty of videos to show you how to do the figure 8. Now this figure 8 stitch, you have to do it just 2 pegs at a time. If you want to try to wrap the whole loom, this is what you get. So you have to just do it 2 at a time. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. So all the way, you'll do this all the way around until you have 7 rows done. Which I'll go ahead and work it to the next row. And then I will show you how you do your left decreases and your right. Once you have your 7 rows of figure 8 stitch done, then we got to start working on these increases and decreases. Hold it up like that where you can see the white through it. And it's sets of left decreases and right decreases. And the way you tell is which way it's angled. This one is going to the right, so it's a right decrease. This one's going to the left, so it's a left decrease. To do these is pretty simple. You just gotta make sure every 5th peg on your loom is marked. I just marked a couple. Now this loom does not have a multiple of, the pegs are not a multiple of 5. So you will have like a couple extra. Actually, I think it's just 1 extra. That's why I put this here, because it should be like here, actually there. But yeah, it's not a complete multiple of 5. I'm going to take that one off because it'll fall off anyway. So you still just do this the exact same. And all you do is we will start with a right decrease. You find your pegs that have your markers on them. You take the yarn off that peg. Now, if it's too tight for you to, I could pull this one over and put it on, but if it's too tight for you to pull over and put on, you can kind of squeeze it, hold it, and untwist it. And see, that opens it up more. It will also make the decrease a little more bold. Here's another one. I just got to where there's 2. So you can just hold it and it will untwist. And you could put it on like that if you want. Or you can leave it twisted and put it on. The key to the decreases is you always want to put the yarn, when you take the yarn off a peg, you want to put it in the direction of the slant. So this one's going to be slanting to the right, so we're going to put it on the peg to the right. And you'll do that all the way around to every single one. And then once you're done, you push all the pegs on the entire loom to the bottom. Use the tensioner completely. Very, very helpful. Then, your next row, after your decrease row, you just, oops, got snag. You just E-wrap the entire row. If you are using this yarn, you don't have to worry about any type of laddering. But if you're using a yarn like this, you may want to wrap just a few pegs at a time and pull the bottom over the top. See, that one had 2 on it and I pulled it over. That one didn't have any bottom one, so I left it alone. The laddering is where you end up with kind of like, I always called it a seam. I just recently learned the official term was laddering. But if you take and you E-wrap your entire row, take your bottom over the top, and you do that every row, and then that one point you'll have like a stripe up it. To avoid that, you can wrap 1 peg at a time, or you can wrap groups, you know, 4 or 5, take the bottom over the top, 4 or 5, take the bottom over the top, and then your next row, you just want to make sure you're not stopping at that same peg every row to avoid the laddering. Alright, so then your first row is done. You've taken your bottoms over the tops. You've E-wrapped. Okay, now this time we took, this is the one with the stitch marker. We took that one off and put it on this one. So now we got to take this one off and put it on the one next to it, and the same here. We'll take that one off, put it on to the one next to it, push that down, and E-wrap another row. I didn't get them all pushed down, but that'll be fine. Take all the bottoms over the tops. Now, if you sit this down and you forget what your last decrease row was, if you look at this and kind of pull it out, you'll see right there. That was the peg that was emptied. See, that was the one before, and then that was the one this time. If you take that one off, you'll notice real quick because it's going to unravel. And we'll look at this one down here. Same way. So that one, you only has the E-wrap around it, and then it's unhooked behind that E-wrap. So that means we're on this one. So we'll take this one off and move over. I'll take this one off and move over. Of course, you're doing this all the way around. Alright. And of course, this one's giving me some trouble. There we go. Unwind it and then put it on. Push all those down to the bottom. You keep repeating that process. So, all the way around. First time, you'll take the loops off the marked pegs, move it over one, E-wrap. Take the loops off these pegs, move them over one, E-wrap. Take the loops off these pegs, move them over one, E-wrap. Take the loops off these pegs, move them over one, E-wrap. And take the loops off these pegs, move them over one, E-wrap. Once you get to a stitch marker, which the way I remember is once I have 2 strands of yarn, like right here where I did my decrease, once I have that on a peg with a stitch marker, I know I'm done. That's all for that decrease, which this was a right decrease. So then you do 2 rows of E-wrap, you do 2 rows of your figure 8 stitch. Then you'll go into the decrease in the opposite direction. And it's the exact same way. You want it to slant to the left, so you'll take it off of this peg, move it to this peg, E-wrap, this peg, E-wrap, this peg, E-wrap, this peg, E-wrap, this peg, E-wrap. And you keep doing that until it's to the length you want. Now I did, let me see, I said right decrease, left decrease, right decrease, left decrease, right decrease. I think I did 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and I have 1 all the way up here. So I did 5 sets, which you can see it a lot better through there. And if you use, this is like a size 4 yarn. If you use a size 3 or a size 2, you'll be able to see this a lot better. Like if I were to make this whole hat out of this yarn right here, that design would show up a lot better. I'm just using this yarn to match the shawl I had made. Or if you want to use this yarn, you can actually use a larger gauge loom if you would like. But this one, with the figure 8 stitch around the edge, that's going to be enough to cover your ears, and that will still give you some warmth if it's something you want for when it's cold. Okay, so you get it to where as long as you want, and then do 5 rows of E-wrap. Then I'll show you how to do the cast off. So we are at the end of our Dragonfly lace hat, which you can see the design. Now holding it like this, I'm not sure exactly how well the design itself will show through. I suggest using a thinner weight yarn, like maybe like a number 2 yarn, if you want this to be very, very bold. But we will see what we get. Let's get this off the loom. After I did 5 rows, well, I'll show you how many sets I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets. So it's a left decrease, right decrease, left decrease, right decrease, left decrease. And then I did 5 rows of just plain E-wrap. I do not want to use this yarn as my cast off yarn. So what I'm going to do is cut a little bit of a tail for it to help lock it in with just a really don't have much issues locking in. Flip it, just, oops, take and flip it, put it on that next peg, and I'll do one more. I'm just going to be doing a regular sewn cast off, not sewn, sorry, a regular pull string cast off for this project, just because I'm going to do a palm at the top of it, so it doesn't really matter if it's kind of bulky at the top of this hat. Like I said, you do not want to use the yarn. You do not want to use this to pull this close, because it's going to be a huge mess if you do, and 9 times out of 10 you will break the yarn. I just had some just in my yarn stash, and it's a size 3 yarn. I said a 2 a minute ago, but it's a size 3 yarn, so it's just something real thin to do this cast off. Now, since it's not already hooked, I'm just going to kind of tie it there. But this is done like any normal pull string cast off, and all you do is those first 2 that have the 2 strands on it from that previous one, you just treat them both as one. You're going to go through around this entire loom. Sorry, my table's slippery. And just pull. Oops. Pull your cast off yarn. Oh, that's one with 2. Make sure you're getting all the yarn. Okay. Just pull this cast off string all the way around, which I just pulled a big piece of it. If you wrap it around the loom like 1.5 times, that'll be enough to do the cast off. So I'll show another one. I'll show this one up real close. You just lift up the yarn, take your cast off yarn, and pull that through. And then go to the next. Do this all the way around the loom. Then you can actually go and take everything off the loom, and I'll show you the loom. This is what it looks like. I went ahead and made a palm. I just used one of my Clover palm makers. Whatever method you like to use, just use to make your own palm. If you want, the palm is completely optional. Hold on. I'd already weaved in that end, so I'm just going to cut that. Okay. So at this point, all you do is pull this tight. You don't want to pull it too tight, but just pull it. And look at both sides. It's a reversible pattern. Both sides look the same, so it doesn't really matter which side's which. So just pull your strings down in the middle. I'll flip it inside out to pull that completely tight. Now I left a long string on the palm, and again I tied the string around the palm with the black yarn instead of the working yarn, just because it's kind of difficult to deal with. Staying as nice as possible, but it turned out so beautifully that it was worth it. Alright, I don't want to have to deal with all that yarn, so I'm going to cut that. And all you do, you just pull that tight. You want to make sure that this is down close. See, it's not completely close, but you want that down close. And then you just tighten that all the way up. Double knot it. And what I do is I will take and pull this up real tight, because this will kind of loosen up. And this is a hat that if you need to clean, hand wash. I would not throw this in the washer or dryer. See, and I just tie both those strings together, just do a knot. And that's done. Now this string right here, we already went around a couple, so it's already weaved in. And so isn't that. So there you go. The finished Dragonfly lace hat. Okay. So let's see how this turned out. Let's try it on my little mannequin here. Alright, so this Dragonfly lace pattern with this yarn is very subtle. Like you barely notice it. And I'll show you it compared to the matching shawl I had made. See, the shawl is very, very bold. So if you want to do this pattern, you want the design to be a little more bold, as like I said a couple times before in the video, use a size 2 or even a size 3 yarn, and it'll make it a lot more airy. But that's all I have for this. I do hope you enjoy this video. Any questions or comments? Zoom this up so you can see it a little better. Any questions or comments, please leave in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.